In this episode of the show, I want to talk about workouts, specifically programming a workout, whether it's to build strength or to build muscle, whatever your particular goal is, how to actually do that process for yourself. Because an important part of all of this, whether it's fitness, whether it's training, nutrition, whether you're being coached by me or going it alone, having the knowledge to be able to be the master of your own decisions, whether that's from a nutrition perspective or a training perspective, is important because no one wants to rely on somebody else as a crutch for the rest of your life. It's one thing I say to all of my clients is that I don't want to feel like you have to rely on me forever because that's fucking pointless. It's also a fucking expensive way to live your life for having me around for fucking the next 50 years of your life or whatever it may be. So empowering you to be able to do this shit for yourself is all important. So I want to show you over the course of the next few minutes how to actually program your own workouts, how to set up your own workouts. Now we're going to be talking fairly basic stuff here because actually programming workouts, you could say it's a little bit of an art form. Maybe I'm always going to say that because maybe I'm kind of like passionately into this sort of thing. Therefore, I see it as a bit more of a thing, quote unquote, than the average person. Average person may just say, well, it's just a bunch of fucking exercises with some fucking weight next to it. Fucking how complicated can it be? But there is really like a lot of different elements that you have to consider. So for example, like, really about the person. So you are completely different to the next person. Okay, you'll have some similar goals. You want to build muscle. Every dude that comes through my virtual door will always say, yeah, man, I want to build some muscle. I want to get jacked. Yeah. And then females will come along and say, I want glutes, I want shoulders, and blah, 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 blah. But the actual individual is very different. They've got a very much a different starting point. How much muscle mass have they got already? How long have they been training for? What's their experience level? Even though they've been going to the gym for 2 or 3 years, have they actually been lifting correctly? So yes, you might have been going to the gym for 3 years and lifting weights, but actually, is your training age much younger than that? And almost like you need to regress you back to a beginner because you've got so many bad habits, been doing so many things so wrong that we have to start back from scratch. Have you got any injuries? Have you got any mobility issues, flexibility issues? Have you got any preference around particular exercises? All of these different things have got to kind of be melded together in one cohesive program that delivers you the results you want over a given period of time. So actually this process of trying to pull together a workout could be a little bit more complex than maybe you first realized, but it's also can be way, way, way too overcomplicated because a lot of the time people just need something basic. And now basic could be, it seems basic on the outside, but actually has a lot of thought gone into it. Now that's quite possible. But what I want to do for the purposes of this episode is give you some real basic structure that you can implement. Now, what I would suggest you do is use these guidelines to then get a base of a workout program. Then start to work with those exercises that you choose and the way you choose to set up that workout, and then modify and then tweak and then adjust as you move forward. But always stick with something for like 6 to 8 weeks before you start tinkering about with it, because otherwise you're gonna drift into this kind of training program fuckery where you just change a workout every fucking week. Now, if you are the type of person that wants to change a workout every fucking week, then do not listen to this because you are the wrong person for this type of advice. You are not the person that I would work with, and you are not the person that's going to benefit from this information, because what I would say to you is, do you want fucking results or do you want a different workout every fucking week? If you want a different workout every fucking week, go and do a body pump class or a fucking Zumba class, some shit like that. If you want results, you're going to have to pick some exercises and you're going to have to do them consistently week after week to see progress within them. Now, I'm not saying you can never change your workout program, but I'm just saying you need to kind of get out of this thing of, I've got to do something different every fucking week. No, you fucking don't. Sort yourself out. Now, I'm going to split this into 2 different categories. One is I'm going to call sort of like beginners, and one I'm going to call sort of like intermediates. Now, I'm not really going to talk about advanced because advanced workout program is going to probably have a lot of specialization. It's going to be very, very specific to the individual, etc., etc., etc. So probably not worth me laboring on that too much. Now, first question you can ask me is, Simon, what the fuck do you class as a beginner? Now, that is a good question. Now, I would class a beginner as someone who has a training age of under 2 years. Now, that is someone who, in terms of under 2 years worth of training experience, that's good quality training. Good quality weight training with proper technique, with proper form, with proper workout programming, etc., etc., etc. That's what I would class as someone who's got a training age of less than or more than 2 years. So if you're someone who's been in the gym, you've been going to the fucking gym for the last 5 years, but you've never made any fucking progress because you didn't really know what you were doing and you just kind of threw weights around in some sort of random fashion, you have not got a training age over 2 years. And this might be a bit of a bitter pill for you to swallow, because your ego might say, well, I'm more experienced, I'm not a beginner, when actually you are a fucking beginner. Now, that's not a bad thing. Being a beginner is not a bad thing. For example, 4 or 5 years ago from when I'm recording this podcast, which is 2019, I regressed myself to a beginner. Even though I've been going to the gym for like years and years and years, I regressed myself to beginner because I wanted to strip everything right back to basics and build a solid foundation based on doing things properly. I drifted into a lot of bro science way back. I'd kind of lost my way with various different training techniques, and it was all sort of a bit of a clusterfuck, shall we say. So I stripped everything back. I swallowed that ego pill and I said, right, okay, I'm going to treat myself as a beginner. I'm going to start from scratch with form. I'm going to start with scratch with exercises, with workout programming, and then I'm going to build up from there. So you might have to be in the same situation. And if I can do it, you can do it too. So don't be too proud to call yourself a beginner. So if you are in that beginner territory, then I actually say that being very, very simple with your workouts and your workout programming is going to be infinitely better than trying to be too complicated. The issue that most people make when they're first starting out is they think it's all about lots of exercises, it's about lots of sets, lots of reps, and then trying to smash themselves 6 or 7 times a week, and plus all the cardio on top of that. That's the first mistake that people make. Actually, what you fundamentally realize is that if you start with a simple program, with a simple, small group of exercises that you execute brilliantly, you will make way more progress. And you'll also realize that even when you get into like advanced stages, you still keep it pretty fucking simple. Nobody goes into these sort of like crazy fucking 2-3 hour workouts and doing like a billion different exercises and keeping it all sorts of, crazy levels of complication. It's still about simple things. Now, as I said before, if you're going to like more and more advanced, you're going to be into specialization programs and shit like that. But let's kind of move that to one side. So where I would start would be your training split. Now, if I'm talking a foreign fucking language, like I've descended from Mars and said, what the fuck is a training split? Now, a training split is basically how many days per week you're going to work out and what you're going to do on those days, roughly speaking. Now, I would say if you are in this under 2 years of training experience, i.e. beginner, 3 to 4 workouts per week is plenty. Again, you've got to allow yourself to be able to recover. You don't want to be also learning 55 different exercises because you've got 6 different workouts to think about. It's just too much. So you've got to think about, okay, 3 to 4 workouts a week. If I smash these hard, I'm going to be fucking brilliant. If you're over 2 years, you might want to think about anywhere between 3 to 6 workouts per week, depending on what your ability is and kind of what your recoverable volume is and what it is you're trying to get out of your program. Now, what you want to do is make sure that you are picking a training split that you can commit to consistently. Because if you said, right, in the first week of your program, you're super motivated and you said, right, I'm going to do fucking twice a day fucking workouts. I'm going to do 6 times a week and I'm going to go twice a day and I'm going to do 12 workouts. And then you do that for 3 days. That's not very fucking good. What you really want to do is say, right, okay, what is it I'm going to commit to consistently? And let's go fucking do that. If that's 3 days a week, cool. absolutely make amazing progress on 3 days a week. If it's 4, great, cool. Let's set your program up for 4 days a week. Whatever it is, make sure you can consistently adhere to it. It's just like your diet. You don't want to set yourself up with a crazy fucking calorie deficit you can never stick to, or you maybe stick to it for a week and then it all falls apart. Your training is the same, because you're going to get motivation from consistently doing stuff. You're not going to get motivation from setting your sights way, way too high and then consistently failing. That's not going to be good motivation for you. Now, if you're doing a 3-day split, there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You could do 3 total body workouts. Quite a good recommendation for most people. You could do an upper day, a lower day, and a total body day. You could do a push day, a pull day, a leg day, push-pull legs, that's called, and so on and so on. So there's quite a few different ways you could split up a 3-day workout. And again, it might be a case that you start with something that you like the sound of. Pretty much that's it. You just like the sound of, okay, I like the sound of doing all my push movements, then all my pull movements, and then a specific leg day. Or if you're a female, you might want to hit glutes 3 times a week. So that might say, okay, well, if I do 3 total body sessions, because females, you really kind of don't really want like lots of chest volume and all that sort of stuff. So you might say, well, okay, I'm going to do some back and some shoulders and some legs on each day of the week. And that's going to be enough. Oh, sorry, each session of your 3 days. So that's like a total body workout. Maybe you're going to hit glutes 3 times a week because you want a nice pert set of butt cheeks, whatever it may be. 4 days a week, you might want to go upper, lower, and then have 2 workouts if you're a beginner and 4 workouts if you're intermediate. So you got 1 upper body, 1 lower body, and then you just repeat if you are a beginner. But then if you're more advanced, you maybe want to bring in some more exercises. So maybe you go to 4 workouts within your upper lower split. 5 days for me is a little bit of a gray area. It's one where, you know, you could start drifting into a bro split, and which is like a body part per day, but no one fucking needs an arm day. Let's be honest. No one fucking needs an arm day. Whereas you could go sort of like cycle things. So you could say, well, I'm going to do push, pull, legs, and then have a rest. And then you're going to go push, pull, and then you're going to have a rest. And then you kind of repeat legs when it comes back to the following week. You can kind of do that. Or you could do upper, lower times 2, and then 1 little like accessory day. So if you wanted to throw in maybe a bit more of one particular body part or something like that, you could do that on that accessory day. So you've got lots of different options. When you go to 6 days a week, my recommendation is you go push, pull, legs times 2. And again, you can adjust that in terms of how many different workouts you have, whether you want to repeat stuff or not. Now, it's good, therefore, once you've got that workout split in place, you then start to think about, okay, what exercises? And this is, again, like, don't overcomplicate it. Stick to 4 to 5 exercises per workout, nothing more, especially if you're in that beginner category, because ideally you want to be repeating exercises consistently as well. So if a squat is a good exercise for you and one you want to fit into your program, then it's a good idea to repeat that, because you're going to get better at that particular movement. You're going to get stronger at that particular movement. You're going to be more comfortable with that actual movement pattern. It's a good idea to repeat some of these exercises. So pick 4 to 5 exercises per workout. Ideally, 2 or 3 of those are going to be compound movements, so multi-joint movements. Think squats, think deadlifts, think bench pressing, shoulder presses. These really ones are going to be bang for your buck. So for example, if you're doing shoulder presses, you're getting some shoulder work, you're getting some tricep work, you're probably getting some ab work from stabilizing your core. So you're going to get a lot out of that exercise, which is why it's good to have 2 or 3 of those in a particular workout. Then you might say, depending on how the program's set up, 1, 2, or 3 isolation exercises. That might be something like some form of side raise for the shoulders. It might be some form of lat pull down or something like that. That's a bit more isolation-y than any other exercise. So kind of blend it like that. Labor slightly more on the compound exercises, but don't be shy about putting in some isolation exercises as well. When it comes to set volume, I would recommend anywhere between 2 to 4 working sets. Now, this is where things start to shift a little bit in terms of maybe like reverse psychology almost. If you're a beginner, I might get you to do more sets. And when I say working sets, these are the ones where you're actually like pushing really, really hard, not like your fucking warm-ups or ones that get in your eye in. Now, the more experienced you are, the more I would cut that down initially, because theoretically is you know how to push yourself within a particular exercise. You know where your limits are and you can really push. So you can get a lot out of 2 sets, 2 working sets. Whereas when you're a beginner, you're still trying to finding your feet. You're not sure where your limits are. Sometimes you don't push yourself hard enough. So sometimes 3 to 4 sets can be quite good. And therefore you can always progress that over time. You can always start to increase the amount of set volume over the course of, say, a 12-week period of a particular program. And then you can start to really work on getting the most out of each individual set. So that's how I would kind of approach it. So for me personally, I do like 2 to 3 working sets. 3 is like my absolute maximum. I don't, generally speaking, go over 3 because I can get what I need out of 2 to 3 working sets. In terms of reps, it's whatever the fuck works for you. Really, anything between 4 and 30 really kind of works. It'll build muscle in any particular rep range as long as you are pushing hard. You'll get that muscle response, you'll get that muscle adaptation that you actually need. What it might be more beneficial for you to do is maybe think about getting into the sort of lower rep ranges for more compound movements. Generally speaking, people find those kind of tend towards those and blend with those a little bit better. And when you come to the isolation exercises, maybe it's the slightly higher volume or higher rep ranges that work best. So if you think about like your compound exercises between anywhere like 4 to 8 repetitions, you obviously can go to 10, like 4 to 10 repetitions, something like that. And maybe isolation 8 to 15, something like that. And then pick rep ranges that you like for those exercises. So like for me, I couldn't ever imagine doing 15 to 20 reps on bench press. I would find that fucking horrific. So I prefer to do lower volume on those, but that's just personal preference. Again, find that rep volume that really works for you. And females probably tend slightly on the higher side as well. So that's it really, is you create that program and then you run it for 6 to 8 weeks. See what happens, see which exercises you like, see which things work for you, then start to tweak, then start to change, then start to maybe keep a core across your particular workout. So you're going to keep some core exercises, you're going to keep going and going and going, but you're going to flip out some other ones that maybe you just fancy a change or maybe are a bit stagnant and not moving forward. So quick summary for you. If you want to create your own workout program, I suggest you start with your training split. So pick 3, 4, 5 or 6 days per week, depending on how experienced you are and also what you can commit to on a regular basis. Then you want to pick your exercises. 4 to 5 exercises maximum per workout, focusing mainly on compound exercises, but don't be frightened to include a little bit of isolation work in there. When it comes to sets, think about working sets, i.e. the sets where you're going to put all your effort in, balls to the wall or ovaries to the wall. 2 to 4 of those, ample. When it comes to rep ranges, find what's right for you within a given exercise. Anything between 4 and 30 reps builds muscle. So figure out what you enjoy, what works, what can you feel within a given exercise, and that's the rep range that's probably going to work for you best. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, and I hope it has given you some insight to be able to go and create your own awesome training programs so that you can go and build muscle, build those pert butt cheeks, build those perfect pecs, those bulging biceps, those shapely shoulders, and those bad ass something or others. Whatever. You decide on the rhyme. I'm all out of ideas. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, come and visit me on Instagram at iron_paradise_fitness. Give me some likes, give me some follows, give me some DMs. Always happy to hear from you, whatever it may be. And also, if you want more information about how to lose weight, drop body fat, build muscle, all that sort of cool shit, I've got a bunch of articles on ironparadisefitness.com. And you can also check out my online coaching program while you are there. If you are the type of person who says, fuck this waiting around bullshit, I want Simon to program all of this fucking for me, sort out my fucking nutrition, and accelerate me to a leaner, healthier life in double quick time, then fucking hell, jump on that website, ironparadisefitness.com, fill out a little application, we'll have a bit of a chat on the old blower, and then we can get you started making progress towards having the best body ever in double quick fucking time. But for now, all I'll say is thanks so much for listening, keep living the lean life, and I'll see you for the next episode of the show.